Hey, welcome to Speechless. Glad to have you here. We're live from the SCC studios in White Bear Lake, also in St. Paul over SPNN. And you'll see delayed broadcasts in various other cities at various other times. Interesting information today. It's about camera transparency, let's put it that way. About exposing what's in dark places, exposing what you cannot see because people don't want you to see it. Because if you knew, you might do something about it, you might change it. Benjamin Franklin said this: "A nation of well-informed men who have been taught to know and prize the rights which God has given them cannot be enslaved. It is in the region of ignorance that tyranny begins." And I believe in so much of the American way of life, the tyranny has already begun. It's been ingrained for years and years and years, because the way ignorance has come about is for people not being able to see or know what really happens. And another reason is people are ignorant in general about what takes place and how things really are. So tonight we got some interesting videos coming up. One on abortion, an abortion doctor who describes, little graphic, about what takes place in an abortion and why he changed his mind after over 1,200 abortions that he did. Also, Andrew Henderson went in and filmed a court case. Andrew Henderson has a website, YouTube, The Drooks, a fascinating event that he filmed, and you're going to see that here on this show. Again, the problem with you seeing his video is that the elites, the courts, don't want you to see it, because then you'll know how to behave in court and what to say and what your rights are. So I think it's fascinating. Minnesota Lawyer magazine, February 22nd edition, had a little editorial comment about Michelle McDonald and her use of cameras. If she didn't use cameras, she uses them all the time. She's asked that they be used in courtrooms for her own case, lost in the appellate court, which will be moved to go to the Supreme Court, Minnesota Supreme Court, and eventually the U.S. Supreme Court. They start harassing her in this article about her use of cameras. What they don't realize, this is paper media, print media, and the print media is bashing video media. You know, and that seems to be a battle going on with the courts right now. Inside the courts, print media is okay. Video media, you can't have that. I don't understand why that's the case. Why video media is somehow not protected under the First Amendment in the courtroom, where the print media can go in there and write and type all they want and get it out to you, or draw. But video, nope, can't have that. So that's going on with McDonald's. St. Paul School Board reverses their decision about public comments being televised. Now they're being televised. I think that's very interesting. I don't know that they like it now after some comments that were made to them. You know, who knows? And then Maplewood City Council, they've shut down your right to see Maplewood public TV. And they don't want you to know, and they don't want you to hear what's going on in Maplewood from somebody else's perspective. And so in order to take away Maplewood's viewership, what they've done is they've gotten out of the Ramsey County or Washington Ramsey County Suburban Cable Commission, and now formed the Maplewood Committee. And now there's no public access. So you went to having 7 channels. Now you got 7 channels with the same thing, same programming. If you turn to channel 15 in Maplewood, you're not seeing my show anymore. You're seeing a video that says, go to channel 16. Watch the government programming. Oh, and by the way, you're paying the same price for that one channel programming, as you were for 7 channels here. And all the variety has gone. That's government. This is a form of tyranny. It's unbelievable. Now, it's interesting to note, Melinda Coleman, the city manager for Maplewood, she shuts it down so the people in Maplewood don't get to see it, but guess what? She lives in Matamidi. Oh, and she could watch this program right now. You know, what a phony person. What a, I just can't believe that this person really can sleep at night, have a conscience, has to lie and deceive people in order to accomplish censorship. You know, it's a tragedy. We're going to get into all that tonight. But the first thing I want us to see, again, we're talking about transparency. It's this video from Life News, Lila Rose organization, about this abortion doctor. You give me the thumbs up when we're ready in there to take that middle one full screen and then start playing. So, okay, we're ready? Let's play this video. It's coming. Need the volume.
A late-term abortion. Late-term abortion requires that the cervix be prepared. My name is Dr. Anthony Levatino. I'm a practicing obstetrician gynecologist, and I've performed over 1,200 abortions. Today I'm going to describe a second trimester surgical abortion called dilatation and evacuation, or D&E. A D&E is performed between 13 and 24 weeks of pregnancy. After administering anesthesia, the abortionist uses a weighted speculum, like this one, that opens the vagina widely. Because second trimester babies are so large, this greater access facilitates a late-term abortion. Late-term abortion requires that the cervix be prepared 24 to 48 hours in advance with laminaria. Laminaria is a type of sterilized seaweed that absorbs water over 8 to 12 hours and swells to several times its original diameter. Once removed, metal dilators can be used to further open the cervix as needed. Once the cervix has been stretched open, the suction tube is placed inside. A baby at 20 weeks gestation is as big as the length of my hand, from head to rump, not counting the legs. The suction machine is turned on, and pale yellow amniotic fluid surrounding the baby is suctioned out through the catheters. With babies this big, they don't fit through catheters this size. The baby's bones and skull are too strong to be torn apart by suction alone. This is a Sofer clamp. A Sofer clamp is made of stainless steel. It's about 13 inches long. The business end is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide, and there are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. The abortionist uses this clamp to grasp an arm or leg. Once he has a firm grip, the abortionist pulls hard in order to tear the limb from the baby's body. One by one, the rest of the limbs are removed, along with the intestines, the spine, and the heart and lungs. Usually the most difficult part of the procedure is extracting the baby's head, which is about the size of a large plum at 20 weeks. The head is grasped and crushed. The abortionist knows he has crushed the skull when a white substance comes out of the cervix. This was the baby's brains. The abortionist then removes skull pieces. He removes the placenta and any leftover parts of the baby with a curette, scraping the lining of the uterus for any remaining tissue. The abortionist then collects the baby parts and reassembles them to make sure that there are 2 arms, 2 legs, and all the pieces. Once all the parts have been accounted for, the abortion is complete. For the woman, this procedure carries a significant risk of major complications, including perforation or laceration of the uterus or cervix, with possible damage to the bowel, bladder, and other maternal organs. Infection and hemorrhage can also occur, which can even lead to death. Future pregnancies are also at greater risk for loss or premature delivery due to abortion-related trauma and injury to the cervix. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm Dr. Anthony Levatino, and in the early part of my career as an OBGYN, I performed over 1,200 abortions. One day, after completing one of those abortions, I looked at the remains of a preborn child whose life I had ended, and all I could see was someone's son or daughter. I came to realize that killing a baby at any stage of pregnancy for any reason is wrong. I want you to know today, no matter where you're at or what you've done, you can change. Make a decision today to protect the preborn. Thank you for your time. I will no longer do any more abortions. When you finally figure out that killing a baby that big for money is wrong, that it doesn't take you too long to figure out it doesn't matter if the baby is this big or this big or this big or maybe even this big, it's all the same. And I haven't done any since then, and I never will.
All right. That, you may ask yourself, why did they reassemble the baby after they just ripped it all apart? And the basic reason there is because if you don't have all the parts and there's still parts left in the womb, sepsis, bacteria infections, all kinds of infections can take place, can lead to the death of the mother. And it has. And all those side effects of the abortion are realities that have taken place. Punctured uterus, you know, all those side effects. So I think the main thing to when light is exposed on how dark this deed is, and you've been a supporter of this, and you've may have had an abortion yourself, I think his message and personal testimony in this is that you can change. You know, you can believe differently, you can behave differently. That's an option. And there will be a number of other videos coming out like this that will describe this man's experience, and so that you can understand what's really taking place. When you go in for an abortion, this has not been explained to women, you know, for a long time. Now laws have been passed in most states that this is explained. They're supposed to explain it, but that doesn't mean Planned Parenthood or Whole Women's Health is doing it. You know, nobody's there, you know, checking them to see that they've done that, but they're supposed to. So part of what I'm trying to do here is let you see it from an abortionist doctor, so that you know when Planned Parenthood says, no, it's just a blob of tissue. Yeah, well, we're all blobs of tissue, even now, you know, some 57 years after being born. All right, transparency, showing what's happening in secret places that you don't go to normally. And that brings us to Andrew Henderson, who had a parking ticket, and didn't think it was right that he got one. And so he contested it. And so he made a video out of his contesting his traffic ticket, and went to places that you don't normally see. So let's see what Andrew Henderson has to say.
Yeah?
Can I get your badge number?
0016.
Cool.
Is it shiny enough for you?
It's very shiny.
All right. Your driver's license, Mr. Pittman, right?
You filming right now?
I am.
How come?
He's got a camera on. He's got a camera on me right now as we're talking.
District Court, this is Vanderhoff.
Hi there. I would like to contest a citation I received.
What's the citation number? Okay, so downtown, Brookdale, Ridgedale, or Southdale?
Downtown.
Okay. They do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings for appointments. The 13th or 14th I have some openings, or January 19th, 20th, or 21st.
Let me check my calendar real quick. Let's do the 21st.
Okay, so Thursday, I have an 8:30, 9:30, 10, 10:40, or 11:10.
Let's do the 11:10.
Okay, and what's your last name
Henderson.
and first name?
Andrew.
Okay, so Thursday, January 21st, 11:10, downtown here at the Government Center then.
Yep. And I have one quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on filming this. Who would I send a letter to stating that I do plan on filming this?
Filming your hearing?
That's right.
It's not in an actual courtroom.
Right. It's with a
Hearing officer.
right. So
Let me just check with the supervisor here really quick if she's available. Just
Sure.
one moment.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, she must be away from her desk right now. She is in the office today, but I can transfer you to her and you can leave your name and phone number.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, just one moment.
Yep.
Hi, you've reached Deanne Hallberg, Administrative Supervisor for the Hearings and Fines Management Office. I'm away from my desk right now, so please leave a message. Leave your name with spelling and citation number, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hi there. My name is Andrew Henderson, and I have a quick question you might be able to answer. I plan on filming my hearing for a traffic citation or a parking citation, and I'm just curious of who I would send a letter to stating my intent to film this. If you could, please give me a call back at 651. Thank you.
Hi, Andrew. My name is Deanne. I'm the supervisor for the hearing office. I am calling you back regarding your request for filming a hearing. And unfortunately, we do not allow the recording. Any form of cameras or recording equipment are prohibited in the court facilities, and that does include the hearing office and our hearings. So if you have any questions about that, you can please call me at 612-348-0217. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm here. Huh?
What can I do for you?
I'm here to fight a parking ticket.
Well, that's downstairs at the hearing office.
Oh.
It's the stairs right there where those people are going down.
Yep.
It'll be on your left-hand side.
Great, thanks a lot.
Hello.
Hi.
Did you want to talk to somebody?
I have an appointment.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
What time?
11:10.
What's your name?
Henderson.
Andrew?
That's right.
Or Andy?
Andrew.
Okay. Right across the street. I'll let you know you're here, Andrew. You can have seat.
Okay.
Call your name.
Do,
I'm
do,
gonna
do,
keep this.
okay. Hey there.
Come on in. Have you got your driver's license with you?
I do.
What's your ID?
Let me turn this off real quick.
And so the Ford is your car?
Yeah.
Okay. And so they gave you, the snow emergency citation.
Yep.
Because there was no parking on the even side, from starting.
Right. But I had no clue about it. I mean, there was no signs, and I mean,
There's not going to be any
Right.
signs. I mean, it's whether or not the city of Minneapolis, has declared a snow emergency.
right. I had no idea, and I mean, 1,000 other people had no idea either. I don't live in Minneapolis. I mean, if I lived in Minneapolis, then it'd be different. But I mean, as the first time I parked at night in the winter on any Minneapolis city street.
Was the car towed?
No, no.
Okay.
I was just cited. So,
And so, here's a brochure, in regards to, snow emergencies in Minneapolis.
right.
And so, it's got ways to, find out whether or not a snow emergency was declared.
Right. I mean, I don't spend too much time in Minneapolis. I'm not from here. I'm from Little Canada. So, I mean, and
In
we,
Ramsey County.
yes, and we have signs in Ramsey County. And just about everywhere I've seen in Ramsey County, I can't think of one place in Ramsey County where there's not a sign
That says what?
that says like no parking, or do not, or snow emergency route, or no parking between this hour, this month and this month. There's always signs, and I haven't seen any signs in Minneapolis, so I had no clue. I don't feel guilty about this because I didn't have the knowledge. There's other cars parked there. I mean, there's no victim to this crime that I can discern.
Well, except they're not actually able to plow the even side that people are parked on. Is the problem. But
I mean, I talked to the neighbor and asked them if they were inconvenienced by me parking there in that tiny bit of snow, and they were not, and so I don't feel that there's a victim there. I don't feel there's a crime, and I mean, I just don't feel guilty about this, and so I want to fight it.
well, as far as the citation goes, I mean, I'm not seeing any other parking tickets for you. And,
No,
so
I don't-
was going to give you a break and cancel the fine on this one.
I don't speed. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I'm a pretty legal citizen. I had no clue about this.
But I mean, so as far as snow emergency, I mean, so
Okay.
that's how it works.
Okay. I keep that in mind now. Thank you for this information.
All right, you're all set.
Awesome. Have a good day,
Take
man.
care. You too. Take care.
All right, thanks.
Make sure I keep that out.
So if you all no victim, no crime. Don't take the plea. So, man, don't take the plea. Don't take the plea, man. No victim, no crime. Hey man, no victim, no crime. Don't take the plea. Have a good one. Hey man, no victim, no crime. Don't take the plea. Don't take the plea.
Nick?
If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset.
If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset. Of course, Andrew had, Mr. Henderson had gotten, filmed the sheriff deputy there, which he had the right to do. That sheriff deputy said, if I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset. Well, she took the evidence of the video and destroyed it. Didn't put it in, didn't secure it, destroyed it. And terrible thing there. So Mr. Henderson has done a great job filming police officers exposing dirty tricks, bad behavior by police officers. He's won awards. Is, in my opinion, an outstanding journalist as far as showing how to talk to a police officer, how to protect your rights. And so I would encourage you to go to his YouTube channel, The Drooks, as you saw there, and watch his videos. I think you'll learn a lot from that. Why was the ticket thrown away? Well, we don't know. You know, exactly. I couldn't tell from what the hearing officer was doing. But there are two aspects that were raised there. One was no knowledge, and that's a legitimate defense. Not knowing or could have known that this was a snow emergency route. You know, you have to have notice of what you're doing is wrong. And then part of the questions, or one of the other issue that was raised by Mr. Henderson was there's no victim. And there wasn't a victim because the street wasn't plowed. Okay? If it would have been plowed, maybe. So the victim would have been the Minneapolis plow drivers or the people of Minneapolis. Could it have been? Who knows? I'm kind of curious as to how those other people there did in their hearings, how they came out. We won't know. But kind of the bigger issue here is this is being filmed in the court facility. Now understand, courts can make rules. They do have some weight of law. And what's problematic to me about that is because there is this lack of check and balances. It's our legislatures that's supposed to make law, not the courts. But courts make these rules and they say no cameras in the courtroom. Well, everybody brings cameras in the courtrooms. There's cameras already in the courtroom. Adoption hearings, immigration hearings, cameras, pictures are being taken in courtrooms. So it's a pick and choose situation for these judges as to what they want. And the statement was made, no cameras anywhere in the court facility, and that's just not true anyway. People bring cameras in all the time, and they're in the hallways. They're in the courtrooms. They can't use them, but even in the hallways, yeah, you can use them in the hallways. There's nothing stopping you from using the hallways. So some of this, and again, while he was talking to the staff, there was no, here's the statute, here's the court rule, here's our policy. They just said, here's how it is. Okay, well, is it really? You know, we don't know what it is. We'll see if Mr. Henderson gets in trouble for this. But what you saw in there is something that takes place. You know another reason why the ticket may be dropped is because if you defend that ticket and the city has to defend the ticket, They're going to have to bring in the officer that wrote the citation. They're going to have to bring in the plow driver. They're going to do a lot of time. And so for I don't know what the size of the ticket was, the dollar amount, was it, it's a parking thing, so it could be anywhere from 25 to, but since it's no emergencies, probably it's higher, $115, whatever. The city's going to say, you know what? It's not worth our time to take these paid people off the streets and from their jobs. It will cost the city more to go and contest to defend themselves than it will just let the ticket go. And that is a mindset down there. I've seen that happen a number of times where police officer doesn't show up, the parking meter person doesn't show up. Why? Well, if the parking meter person is in the court, they're not out collecting the tabs on the meter. So that could be another reason why the ticket was taken away. The court facilities, though, it will be interesting if there's any fallout from that, him filming in there. And while the administrative hearing, why that's an extension of the court, who knows right now. But I'll tell you this, it's wrong. Every single one of them should be able to be filmed. And now you've seen it. You've gone into the dark, hidden places, the secret places that only people experience one-on-one. They don't experience corporately and don't get to see corporately like you can see on TV. Okay, or on the internet, as this piece was on the internet. I think it's fascinating. Great video. All right, so that gets us now to Michelle McDonald, who ran for the Minnesota Supreme Court, where the Minnesota Lawyer came out with an article, an editorial. It's called Bar Buzz. This is out of the February 22nd issue. And in it, they have a short editorial, and they ask a question. What is it about Michelle McDonald and cameras anyway? Well, why don't you ask that of why don't you ask that of me? Why don't you ask that of any press person who wants to go film in the courts but can't do it? Why don't you ask that of the press person that is outside the courtroom, outside the courthouse with mics set up trying to get comments from attorneys and jury and whoever and people passing by? Why don't you ask that? What's the deal with cameras? See, that's the smoke and mirrors. This isn't about the camera. This is about transparency of government. This is about protecting yourself from people who mean to do you harm. And can do it because nobody else saw it. Can you imagine without a camera and you're in an administrative hearing and the administrator goes, you know what, you did this, you're guilty. I'm just gonna, I like you. I'm gonna cut the ticket, and you don't have to pay anything. Next person comes in, you know what, you're guilty, you did this. I don't like you. Yeah, I'm not giving you a break on this. You see that unequal treatment going on that could be exposed there? So that's why courts don't want you to see what's going on, so then you don't know how to behave and don't know what to do or know the magic words that need to be said. Now, of course, we still don't know what the magic words were here in this case, but I think the magic words, and you're going to have your own opinion, but I think the magic words were, I'm not guilty. I'm going to contest this. And the administrator officer is going, that's going to cost us a lot of money for us to, prosecute this case and have him defend his rights. It's going to cost us more money than this fine is worth. We're just going to let it drop. So what is it about Michelle McDonald and cameras anyway? Say what you will about the controversial family law attorney and erstwhile GOP candidate for the Minnesota Supreme Court, she is one committed shutterbug. You know what? And obviously so, because if that camera in that police car that pulled her over for DUI did not show, if it wasn't there, it clearly showed she wasn't drunk driving. Okay, it clearly showed that the officers were making stuff up and over-exaggerating. If it wasn't for that, she'd be guilty of drunk driving. I mean, that's just terrible. So why have a camera? That's why. Nothing, everybody should be having cameras. Nothing out of the ordinary here. So, but the article wants to make it as if it's out in the ordinary. Those who have followed McDonald's tribulations, which I am one of them, probably recall how she was once arrested for taking pictures in Dakota County courtroom, which prompted her to file a federal civil rights lawsuit against county seeking gazillions in damages for her alleged torture at the hands of her caddish jailers. And the important thing here on this statement is all these verbs and adverbs, the descriptive terminology, caddish behavior, gazillions in damages, you know. And again, she was arrested, and I tell you, this is a citation. This isn't an arrest. Oh, you took a camera, a court rule. You took a picture in a courtroom, and you had permission. And so we're going to arrest you, we're going to throw you in jail, keep you overnight. We're going to make you go through your hearing in handcuffs without your glasses, the person you're representing, and your paperwork. And we're going to embarrass you all we can. Oh, and we got the pictures of that. We've seen the video here. Okay? And so this is a problem. Okay? She was recording the false information that was being given to her by the judge in the courtroom, and the information. It showed the hearing had been canceled, that there was no hearing before the judge today for her particular case. So she took a picture in the lobby. And then she took a picture in the courtroom, judge wasn't present, showing that people were in the courtroom for that case. I mean, at least it looked like she was taking pictures. We don't know. Okay? But so by looking like you're taking a picture, you get arrested, handcuffed, tried to be booked and charged, which she never was. She was booked. She wasn't. She wasn't booked. She was charged, if I remember correctly. And it's just outrageous. Give her a ticket. Don't do this. Come to court. Defend yourself. All right, we got a phone call. Caller, you have a comment or a question?
Tim Kinley.
Hey.
Thanks for talking about these issues and bringing it up, because this kind of stuff is nowhere at all in the commercial media. And of course, the ladies and the guys running the Minnesota government it's a travesty. I mean, the way they evade transparency, public records, open information.
Right.
I can't believe this. In terms of sunshine laws, I have to believe that Minnesota now has to be, maybe one day, long ago, there was something moving forward, but everything's been moving so far back because the people who are in charge and I'm looking at Paul Schnell, police chief of Maplewood, these guys are just hatchet guys. They're just bagmen for the incompetent people who are running government and the way they're pushing people around. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about Paul Schnell and his buddies in Ramsey County, and I'm sure the same things is going on in Hennepin County. The way they're intimidating people, the way they're bullying people, the way they're threatening people is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I heard that Paul Schnell, the chief police of Maplewood, I was talking to Bob afterwards, of course, off camera, telling it, and it sounded to me like it was fairly threatening. He was acting like the bully he was. That Bob, on your TV show Inside News Hour, which
Right.
used to be seen every Wednesday by the residents of Maplewood, that you're skating pretty close to the edge.
Mhm.
Like the police chief saying that if you don't stop it, if I feel like it, I'm going to go thump you. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, this is why the city of Maplewood has taken and censored your show, talking Bob Sick's show, and
Right.
every other show, just because they don't want any information out there. They want to control the whole public conversation with their talking points, often which are phony, misleading, and false. So thanks for taking this on. And of course, when you talk about the things that are going in court, that's even more important, because the commercial media or no other media is bringing attention to this kind of abuse like you are. So
Yeah.
what's your, are you still keeping up with the show, even though that Belinda Coleman and the gang of the ladies up there, Nora Solwig, Kathy Juniman, and that gang is out to try to remove your show from the air? And the other thing, I seen you at the city of Maplewood the other day, and you were having a little dialogue there with that new council member, the one who had $190,000 discharged in bankruptcy, or approximately $190,000, Brian Smith. What do you
Right.
make of what's going on up there now with him?
Well, we're gonna get that at the towards the end of the show if we have time here. But
Okay, thank you.
yeah, I appreciate your call. Yeah, this is one of the only shows that deals with the courts and the lack of transparency in the courts, in the courtrooms. And I've asked to film in district court, but the prosecutors don't want it. I've never seen it ever happen where the prosecutor said, okay, yeah, it's all right to do that here in Minnesota for this court case. So we're going to keep trying, and then eventually this is, in my opinion, racketeering, corrupt racketeering going on by our state court. And my contention is we have one of the worst judiciaries in Minnesota, in the United States, because of their lack of transparency. People don't know how bad it is, therefore, they don't know how bad it is. Of course, that's a tautology. But because they can't see and because they don't know what's going on, because the courts won't allow you to see it, and they put rules on attorneys that they can't speak bad about the courts, then it becomes a whole lack of transparency issue. Well, let's go back to the McDonald case here. Here in this bar buzz from the Minnesota Lawyer magazine article. So they talked about her being arrested for taking a picture. There was no probable cause for arrest. That got thrown out. Look what they did to her and how they treated her in that case when there was no probable cause. This thing was a setup from the beginning. But of course, the court's going to protect their own. And that's why that hasn't gone any further. Okay, so now the article comes to another example. Or perhaps you recall that surreal episode at the state fair when McDonald, video camera in hand, recorded GOP officials and security officers as they refused to grant her access to the official party booth. Why not have a camera at hand? Here you're recording the GOP officials, Keith Downey and a number of the officials, Pat Anderson, who went and changed their policy only for Michelle McDonald, to exclude her from coming to the booth, and said things like that. Since Michelle said she'd be there every day, we can't have that. Well, it doesn't matter that Sharna, I believe Lundgren, who was running for U.S. Rep in the 4th Congressional District, was there every day. That didn't matter. But, Michelle McDonald, she can't be there every day just because she said she was going to be. Although she never quite said that, So, an endorsed candidate by the people, overwhelming. Okay, so what's wrong with that anyway? Having a camera there. You might not have gotten to see it without that camera being there. Fortunately, other people knew about it and came to record it too, because Michelle told them that this was going to take place. Okay, a couple of months after that weirdness, which it wasn't weird that she had a camera there. What was weird is the way the GOP officials behaved. McDonald made waves with another camera-related gambit when she sought permission to record her upcoming DWI trial. Why is this a gambit, camera-related gambit? You know, I mean, this is a hit piece because she's running for the Minnesota Supreme Court again. That's all this is. What's wrong with this? Okay, after the prosecution objected, Dakota County District Court Judge Leslie Metzen refused to grant that request. Well, Leslie Metzen should have granted it anyway. She's a retired judge. Didn't do a very good job, in my opinion, and should have had a regular judge handle this case. There was nothing spectacular about it. Should have been handled. You know why? Leslie Metzen isn't elected anymore. She's one of these star judges, these retired judges that can't come in because of caseload issues. No, because judges run for election, no other judge was going to handle this case. That's what I think was taking place. The Bar Buzz article goes on to say, while McDonald beat the drunken driving rap, beat it, it wasn't, she won that case. She wasn't drunk driving, okay, because of the cameras showed that she wasn't. She was convicted on test refusal and obstruction charges. To no one's surprise, she appealed. Why is it to no one's surprise? I mean, the appellate court has already ruled since this time that these tests or test refusals are constitutional. You got to have a warrant, okay? But in Michelle McDonald's case, the appellate court comes out and says, no, you cannot refuse it. Other people, you got to have a warrant, but McDonald, doesn't matter. Don't need a warrant. She refused the test. That's too bad. Okay, unbelievable. One of her principal arguments, however, was a little bit surprising. By refusing to let cameras into the courtroom, McDonald asserted Metzen had violated her Sixth Amendment right to a public trial. The Minnesota Court of Appeals didn't buy it. The Court of Appeals said, according to this article, McDonald offers no authority, either binding or persuasive, that holds or suggests that a defendant has a constitutional right to record her own trial. That wasn't the question before the court, to record her own trial. It was to have her trial recorded, okay? And it didn't matter who recorded it, the press or somebody else. It wasn't about her specifically. Appeals Court Judge Kevin Ross, who was doing all the talking, you've seen it only here. It's the only place, the only show you could have seen that argument, wrote in a published decision this week which upheld the two conviction. So he says there's no authority either binding or persuasive. Okay, if there's no authority binding, then how could it be persuasive? Now, here's the deal. Nobody's done this, so it's a new case. And I mean, and to hear Judge Ross go and say, this hasn't happened before. Well, okay, so what? Now you get to make the decision. And so you're going to make your non-decision saying she doesn't have a right to Sixth Amendment public trial with a camera in the courtroom because nobody ever else has asked about it before. Therefore, it's not going to happen. It's bogus. He punted. He left it up for somebody else to decide. Made no substantial statement whatsoever in that brief that I can find, except saying, I mean, it's a substantial statement here that says there's no binding authority or persuasive authority. Well, duh, it hasn't been asked before. It's about freedom of the press. It's about right to a public trial. Oh, and a video makes it more public. Okay. What's more, Ross noted McDonald didn't show or even suggest that anyone who wanted to attend the trial had been denied access. It wasn't about denial of access. I tell you who was denied access. Those who couldn't make it. And she did argue that. There are plenty of people who couldn't make it, that couldn't be in the courtroom at that particular point in time. Okay? If they were there, could they come in? Yes. But I couldn't film. I was denied the ability to film so that you could see it. Is that a freedom of the press issue? No, it's not. It's a public trial issue. He noted no case law suggests, this would be Judge Ross, that a defendant's right to a public trial is satisfied because the only attendees. Okay, he noted no case law suggests that a defendant's right to a public trial is unsatisfied because the only attendees are those who chose to attend in person. Okay. So, there you have it. Lack of transparency, lack of, in my mind, due process, the hiding, the secret, the darkness of our Minnesota court system that's going on. All right, we're running out of time. I spoke before the St. Paul School Board. That's be DVD number 5, Nathan. So DVD number 5, I want played. Spoke at the school board meeting, which is now public again, and it's going to come back to the statement I said tonight. That's really important about Ben Franklin. Here's the purpose of our public schools, okay? To have well-educated people to preserve the Republican form of government. And we don't have that anymore. I think our schools are failing. Matter of fact, I think many, many parents, a whole bunch of parents should get together and sue the public schools for not having well-educated kids in order to preserve the Republic. Because now kids are coming out of the school and they're going, we want socialism. We want Bernie Sanders. So let's see the video here.
Congratulations, new board. And I really appreciate you putting this back on the air and being taped. Comments, it's important for a free press that takes place. And I filmed the last committee of the board meeting. I wish people could have seen that. I thought it was fascinating to hear that discussion. And I don't have it online yet, but eventually it will be there. During the last committee of the board meeting, a series of questions was asked about what are the priorities of the board, the superintendent, the administration, the teachers, and teachers unions. Well, I believe one group of people was left out, and that was the people of the state of Minnesota. And this is something I've talked about before in these meetings, but this is more towards the new board members. Article 13 of the Minnesota Constitution talks about miscellaneous subjects. Section 1, Uniform System of Public Schools. The stability of a Republican form of government depending mainly upon the intelligence of the people, it is the duty of the legislature to establish a general and uniform system of public schools. The legislature shall make such provisions by taxation or otherwise as will secure a thorough and efficient system of public schools throughout the state. That's pretty much it on public schools that's in our Constitution. Well, here's the people have spoken. They've set a priority. Okay, and the priority is to have intelligent students so that our Republican form of governance will be stable. And to that end, I think it's very important that that by the time a child graduates, they should have studied, read, been tested on the U.S. and Minnesota Constitution, and it should be and the U.S. Constitution. It should be done every year. And one quick quote. Benjamin Franklin said, "A nation of well-informed men who have been taught to know and prize the rights which God has given them cannot be enslaved. It is in the region of ignorance that tyranny begins." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinley.
Thank you.
So there's the problem with our public schools. They're not fulfilling their constitutional duty to have an intelligent people, to preserve a Republican form of government, and that's why you want cameras, that's why you want information. The whole purpose of cameras in the courtroom, cameras out exposing, defending people, exposing issues like abortion, showing people things that are going on that they don't otherwise know about that are essential for their liberties in order to protect their God-given rights. And if you have knowledge, you know that these were given by God, and therefore you will not be enslaved. You cannot be enslaved because you will fight for them. And right now we're so stupid, we're giving away our liberties to other people. All right, remember, if you don't stand up for other people's liberties, who's going to stand up for yours? And good men don't do nothing. God bless. We're going to talk about Maplewood next week because a fiasco ended up happening. All right, we'll catch you later. Bye.